was in high school, and we played in a Christian band, and like half of our lyrics were better than they are now. And I'm not really sure how that happened, but our lifestyles, not that they do now, but back then were just really unbelievable. And I don't know how he suffered us this long. But Mike came into our lives just having came off of previous demons. You know, like he was addicted to some stuff and just really had a rough time. And he came in and we met him at a guitar store, and he was jamming so loud on this, like it's a little guitar store, like smaller than this room, and he has it's a Sovtek amp, it's a Russian made amp, and basically there's one level on that thing and it's all the way up, and that's where Mike had it. And just absolutely cramming it, probably playing some Pearl Jam song. Me and Corey walk up to him and are like, you know, we've got a band, which we didn't. I was like, you know, do you want to come and play in our basement with us? And Mike looked up, he had long hair, and he's like, I don't think you guys need to play with someone like me. He said something like real smooth like that, and we were just like, that's awesome. So we went home, and a couple weeks later, we actually ran into him, same guitar store, and he'd cut his hair, because that's what you do apparently. Whenever you change your life, cut your hair and look respectful. He hadn't gotten that far, but he, we went up to him and were like, hey man, we're still playing if you want to come and hang with us. And he was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. So he comes over, and like he probably had 300 songs, and I knew 8 chords, and Corey had never played drums in his life. So we just started. He just like again, it was kind of like where we were in our Christ life, just so ignorant. But Christ suffered us and knew that we were growing, and he knew that he was going to teach us. And it was kind of the same thing with Mike and our music. Like, he just suffered us. He let us absolutely ruin his songs, and he had a smile. And if we hit a wrong key, he would try to sing in that key. And I think it became the downfall of him later, but with the key thing. But we ended up playing for a couple of years together, just on and off. And like he would just come in after having just crammed himself in the Bible, and he would come in and just share with us things that he saw that God was doing in his life, and he knew that God wanted to do in ours, but we weren't willing we were totally resistant. And I think the people who are a part of my life and Mike's life have heard this story 3 million times, but I think it's funnier every time I think about it. But Corey and I were sitting in his bedroom, and we were listening to music, and it was back in the day. I don't even know if any of y'all were alive then, but CDs were the best thing of all time, and like you just got a part-time job so you could go buy a CD, and I'm not talking about the 80s. This was the 90s. It really was. So Corey in his room had this stack of CDs that was unbelievable. I mean, and they were all bought. There wasn't a single burnt CD in the room. And Mike comes in, and I actually know what CD we were listening to, and because I don't want to encourage you to listen to it. It's just a terrible CD, but we're listening to it, and we're just amazed. And he walks in, and he turns it off, and he's like, I think we need to start a bonfire with our CDs. I think we need to burn all of our CDs. And that's only something that would happen then, because if someone tells me to burn my CDs, I'm going to get on the computer and start giving them, CDRs. But he meant literally start a bonfire in the backyard. Let's burn all these things, because they're hindering us. They're causing us to think things that, we don't need to be subjected to and stuff. And I mean, me and Corey, we're still laughing to this day. Rolled off the bed, thought he was a lunatic, and he got rid of all his records, and he only had Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, but he got rid of them. And but it was just an amazing time. Now that I look back at it, it just blows my mind what an effect he had on me, and through the years, even up until just recently, before he passed away. I never stopped thinking that Mike was crazy, but I never stopped looking up to him. The guy was absolutely willing and desired to serve God, and every song that he had was about heaven, pretty much. His whole desire was to not be here and be in heaven. I think the last week of February, he had an accident and ended up hitting his head, and a week later he passed away. And it's kind of one of those things where he was riding a scooter down a hill and fell off of it, and that was it. And we were just thinking, he's not conscious right now, but as soon as he's out, we're gonna just rag him. I had a whole comedian's worth of stuff to just mess with him as soon as he came out. Told most of it to him while he was in the hospital, but it's kind of one of those things where he ended up not waking up, and it's kind of I've been so fortunate. I've not had hardly any people die that I even know, let alone are close to. This is kind of one of those things where I didn't doubt that God had a plan or that God was good or that whatever. Like I didn't struggle with the whole question of why, but I did struggle with. I wanted to know how He would be glorified through this, and I actually still want to know. But I've seen His glory, through this. I've seen just the things that He's done in my life, and I remember this past week. I just kept asking God, like, give me the dedication to Scripture that Mike had. Let me long to know Scripture and to read it so that I can stop singing that song where I'm talking about, go along talking about you but don't know anything about you really. And so there's small pockets of glory in that, but like his wife and his 2 kids, they've just been amazing. And like at the funeral, she was the strongest person in the entire church, I believe. And like we played songs that Mike had, and she like stood up there and played bass and sang, and like when I would choke up / forget the words, she would sing. And it's just amazing to see. But this song is called "Hope Is Not Lost," and it's funny because like we just decided to play it because it's fun. As I was getting closer to the song, I just kind of started thinking about how this song, "Hope Is Not Lost," even though I wrote it several years ago, it's about Paul saying that there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. Not height nor depth, nothing. And as I'm playing this song, I guess it's my hope that we'll spend some time thinking about that. And the song says that found us in our nakedness with a nail prepared for His hand, and yet He still died for us, and He still tells us that there's nothing that can separate us from Him. And as again, I reiterate, like I always felt like Mike was, just like the CD thing, I would always be like, man, he's so crazy. But like that, I believe that he lived in such a way that he knew that there was nothing that could separate him from God, but he still struggled. He was the most honest Christian I've ever known. And I'm thankful for that, and I hope that it takes some kind of shape and form in my life. But this is called Hope Is Not Lost.